We've talked about different parts of the cell, the different organelles. Today we're going to focus on the cell membrane. Here's a picture of the cell membrane. The cell membrane is 2 layers, and we call them phospholipids because they have phosphate heads, and then they have these lipid tails. And you guys recall from last chapter that lipids are fats. The cell membrane is very flexible. For unicellular organisms, it allows those to move like amoebas. Now in us, the multicellular, one of the main reasons that we have the cell membrane, it's going to help us maintain homeostasis, and that's going to keep our cells balanced on the inside. We also call that equilibrium. Another name for the cell membrane, we call it a plasma membrane, and it's going to control what enters and leaves cells. Some other functions of it, they are a protective barrier from the environment. They also transport things in and out. They are called what is selectively permeable, so they allow some substances in and others not. We're not going to get into it too much, but they also have ways that they can recognize different organisms or things inside of your body. And they provide sites for the filaments of the cytoskeleton, which keeps the structure of your cell. They're also binding sites for enzymes, and we remember that enzymes are a type of protein that speed up chemical reactions. They have different binding sites, and inside they contain the cytoplasm for your cell. There's another picture of them. Like I said, your cell membrane is made up of what are called phospholipids. They have a phosphate head and lipid tails. They also have embedded in them proteins to allow substances to move in and out of your cell also. Now when we're talking about the heads and tails of the cell membrane, you can see it has 2 layers. The circle, that is a phosphate, and they're polar because they like to touch the water. Now, if you guys think about when you put oil and water, oil is a fat. Lipids are called hydrophobic because they are water-fearing. This makes your cell membrane selectively permeable, so it allows some things to cross and others not. Like I just said, it is 2 layers. And we call it a lipid bilayer because we know that the tails are lipids. Now, if it is a hydrophobic molecule, it can pass easily through this phospholipid membrane. If it's hydrophilic, it does not cross. So pretty much if it is soluble in fats, it can cross through the cell membrane. If it's soluble in water, it cannot pass through, and it has to use those proteins to help it pass through the cell membrane. I just used the word soluble, and what solubility is, it's that it can dissolve in water. So materials that are soluble in lipids can pass through the cell membrane. If you take vitamins, if you have fat-soluble vitamins, they will pass through that membrane easily. If it's a water-soluble vitamins, those don't pass through your cells, and you just get rid of them in your urine. Some molecules that are hydrophobic would be oxygen and carbon dioxide, and water can also move through your cell membrane. Some ions, such as salts and things like that, they have to use those proteins that are embedded in the cell membrane to help them move through there. In our next lesson, we'll talk more about how things can move or cannot move through the cell membrane, and we'll do that next class.